to Prop Noise. This is a weekly episode of me and you hanging out for just a few minutes to talk about all the things that I love about drones. So, getting started, we are heading right into the news. As you may have seen on my channel, I released a video of the IQ motion control motors for the first time. You can see basically a side-by-side comparison with KISS and Butterfly using traditional sensorless setups. And it's pretty cool. The video is getting a lot of traction and a lot of people are seeing 3D mode for the first time, as it should be. It's a really smooth setup and it's incredible flying. If you haven't seen the video, go check it out. There will be a link in the description. And if you're watching live, thanks for joining me. And if you are watching live, the links are not in the description yet, so bear with me. Then, moving on, if you have not seen it yet, I joined up with the Rotorite crew, and we do all things giant drones up in Detroit. So I got Bot Grinder, Drew, and Stinger Swarm to essentially fly one of my giant setups for the first time and get their opinions on what they think about giant racing drones. It's a really cool video and it was a lot of fun to film it. As you can see, we flew giant drones through a bando, which was just mind-blowingly fun. I did stuff with these giant setups that I haven't done before, and we really kind of opened them up for the first time, I feel like, during that weekend. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. If you have not checked out that video, a link in the description. And then kind of moving on. So this is a really bit of cool news story about drones. A single police drone has, taken over like 400 crimes, like reported 400 crimes in Mexico. So essentially this drone, like DJI, I believe Inspire, is responsible for 500 arrests. It's one of those cases where a single drone in the right spot can be more pervasive and better than, 20 officers on the ground. The eye in the sky, I think, is going to be used more and more going forward in the future as police enforcement and other agencies realize the potential of the technology to do their job. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of this in the future. But it's interesting to see that just an off-the-shelf setup and Inspire can be used to such great effect. Yeah, so if you want to read more about that, link in the description. And then, yeah, this is kind of weird and interesting. I like, this crossed my news stream, and I'm like, what the heck is this drone? This is the Leveltop. It's essentially a camera drone that looks kind of like a soda can. It's so weird. It feels like every week we see some weird concept pop out of the world for some new UAV. So, this is this week's new weird concept. Weighs less than a pound, flies up to 33 miles an hour for a solid 20 minutes. They're claiming quite a bit there. Reach altitudes of 328 feet. Why 328 feet? Like, that's such a weird, like, spec. I don't understand that. Yeah, I don't understand why you'd want this over traditional, like, a Spark. And I think this is essentially what happened, is that the Spark came out, and this was kind of in the phase of being developed before it released. And DJI saw this market of people that want a really cheap selfie drone, essentially, and they developed out for it. And now we have companies like this that are developing, essentially a selfie drone for 200 bucks. It's pretty cool. So yeah, I'm curious to see how this one takes off. Again, this is one of those Kickstarter projects. it could very well just never really come to fruition, like the Lily drone. I know some friends of mine that have spent lots of money on drones that just have never come to exist. So, yeah, $200 for your own selfie drone, and we'll see. Yeah, that's moving on. This is kind of interesting. So, Parrot has officially ripped off the DJI Mavic. You'll understand when you see it. So, Parrot has come out with their latest and greatest rendition on the Parrot line of drones. I personally have flown the Parrot Bebop, the original. It was interesting. And Parrot has since, really moved forward with technology. And for the longest time, Parrot's kind of biggest draw was they had a digital gimbal. So instead of having a hardware gimbal that makes the camera move and adjust to the world around it, they used software to stabilize the world around it in post. So the concept was it was like more robust or something, I don't know. Essentially, it was way ahead of its time, and the technology, while it worked, was not better than a hardware gimbal. And so DJI, interestingly enough, has since implemented a hardware and software gimbal onto some of their newer setups. So you have the hardware stabilization on top of software smoothing that makes the footage look even butterier. So it's interesting to see that with this new Enefi, I don't know, Enefi. It's some French word. See, with this drones, like, really, they ripped out that whole idea of having a fixed camera, and they gave you a 180 camera, which is different. I don't think I've seen any other setup like this, and people are calling this kind of like a clone of the Mavic, but I argue, no. This is like a miniature version of the Team Black Sheep Disco. So if you look at it, the arms, the way it's set up, it reminds me of, I don't know, it just reminds me of a lot of different drones. Like, I see the Disco in it, I see the Mavic, I see a bit of the Karma, weirdly enough. I see a lot of different kind of design inspirations for this, and it really seems like Parrot took the best of everything to try to create something that is definitely in a league of its own. They're claiming 25-minute max flight altitude, 4K camera, and again, at 180 degrees. So the big concept of this drone is the ability that it can look up. So most drones have a camera that faces down or out. Like the Mavics is kind of down and out. And if you look up, you're going to look into the propellers. With this setup, the propellers are out of view, and you can look up and actually get shots of it. Like, say you're like underneath a bridge, you can look up at the bridge and do inspections. So if you're in the industry of, say, creating, I don't know, if you're in the industry of like bridge inspections or any kind of governmental work, this drone can very well be your ticket to using something other than DJI. So it's going to be interesting to see how this does. In my opinion, it looks better than anything Parrot's released before. Like, this drone has definitely set the bar for what Parrot has done. And it's fairly cheap. I think it's only $5.99. It's not bad. It's priced. Okay, so it's $700. It's it's not cheap, but it's also not terribly expensive, and it's definitely priced to compete with DJI's current offerings. So if you're in the market for a new drone and you don't want DJI, then check out the Parrot NFI. Okay, moving on. So, I have probably been on the kick of giant drones. You've probably seen videos on my channel. If you haven't, I've added a new section on my video, I've added a section on my channel page for giant drones. Just specifically for giant drones. I'm going to add another section here soon just for 3D drones and setting it up and all that good stuff. So on that note, I got a really good opportunity to head over to Freedom Motors, the home of the Sky Car. For those that don't know the Sky Car is essentially, at least this version of it was the first real idea of a VTOL car that you could have as personal transportation. And the concept gained popularity in the 90s and early 2000s. And for various reasons, it really never came to fruition. Fruition. I don't know why I say fruition, but it sounds funnier that way. Um, and Paul Moeller, the man behind it, has been pushing for flying cars longer than I have lived. So I was able to go meet up with him and actually do a mini documentary about the technology behind his Sky Car and kind of get his ideas of the future and where we're going. Back when he was building the Sky Car, the SEC and the FAA thought it was kind of impossible. Like, there's just no way this can safely be done. There's just nothing on this that's going to make it safe. And then the SEC, seeing that the technology was just not, really possible, quote unquote, they ended up investigating him, and essentially, his business fell apart at one point in time. And the whole idea of the Sky Car fell with it. And now, here we are in 2018, people are on that Sky Car kick. Like, there's tons of companies that are developing out personal transportation for VTOLs. So, it's weird. Like, we had this one guy, and there's, documentaries that go back to him saying, like, I can't be this one guy standing alone in the field with this crazy idea. I've got to have others standing with me. And now we live in that time where there's tons of other people standing with him. He is not alone in the field, and I honestly think he's going to live to see his dream of flying cars become a reality. And so, with all the drama, the SEC and the FAA, now the reinvigorated idea of the flying car, he's kind of coming back out of the woodworks. He's, displaying what he's got. He has still, in my opinion, the best solution for any kind of fuel-based drones or, liquid fuel-based driven systems. I mean, the Wankel engine that he uses is 2 moving parts. The only thing that has less moving parts as far as engines goes are drones with a single moving part on their electric engines. So it's interesting that he took that technology to the limit of where gas is going. And in many ways, gas-propelled machines, I believe, still have a place. The fact you can fill them up instantly. If you're creating a drone network, say you have drones that need to operate 24/7, this technology would be right up the alley for that. You could have drones that resupply fuel to drones that are flying and to keep them up airborne 24/7. To have entire fleets of drones delivering communications, doing crop surveillance, crop dusting, like the ability to automate and be able to keep the machinery going consistently is, something that his technology and his motors offer that the industry really doesn't have elsewhere. So, yeah, I'm curious to see that if it does start taking off again. I really think that his technology has the ability to push the non-electric into reality. Anyways, enough about this. If you want to watch the full documentary and not just listen to me talk about it, check out the link in the description. And following up on giant flying cars, Google's Kitty Hawk. I say Google because it is Google founders Larry Page's secretive flying car project. But Kitty Hawk Flyer is your own personal electric aircraft. So, for those that don't know, Kitty Hawk is one of those companies that's now standing in the field with Moeller, who's saying that flying car is something that's not only possible, but something that we think is going to be revolutionary and something that's going to take over the airspace. So, this is literally the first flying car that you can buy. And it's more like a flying motorcycle thing. Like, it's interesting. So it weighs 250 pounds, sports 10 battery-powered propellers, and 2 joysticks. Um, it goes about 20 miles an hour, and it has pontoons for water landings. I mean, look at that. That looks cool. I mean, this is one of the things that they definitely did right. They made it look cool. And it's one of the things that some of the other designs have had a hard time with, is just looking cool. But at the end of the day, this is just a drone with 10 motors on it, spinning propellers. There is nothing special about this machine here. Like, you put some batteries, put some props together, you make it look decent, and then you make it fly well. You actually tune the pin controller so it maneuvers properly. And that's one of the things they really did. I don't know if we have a proper video of it flying. I just want to see it fly. Yeah, they don't really show it flying in this video, which is, sad. But in videos of this machine flying, it's actually incredibly smooth. The pin controller looks great. It looks like it maneuvers properly. Unlike some of the other machines where it's very, I don't know, robotic, this actually looks like it flies and maneuvers through the air with ease. They haven't announced how much it's going to say. But it is coming out for sale. So if you want to buy a flying car, now is the time. And moving on with the news, I am going to Quad Camp San Diego. So Rotor Riot is, I guess, going to be a instructor for Quad Camp, at least for this one, and hopefully future ones too. So Quad Camp San Diego is coming up. It is June 23rd and 24th. It is one of those really cool things, and a lot of people ask, what the heck is Quad Camp? It is essentially a camp for, kids to grown-ups to go to get help with quadcopters, essentially. Like, let's say you're a newbie, and let's say you need help with, like, learning how to do a new trick, or learning a new skill, or let's say